Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning into another Supatease video, and I have been having an absolute blast on this specialization, the Resto Druid. I would argue that this is one of the best healers and one of the most fun healers at the same time. They have managed to mesh multiple expansion iterations of the specialization together for a fantastic experience. I'm going to be running you through some of my games and going over what exactly makes it so spectacular so that you know whether or not it's going to be a good fit for you as a specialization to pick up. The first benefit of being a healer in PvP, you're going to be getting fast queues and fast groups. Every queue I had was instant. I almost got 2,400 in one singular day on this specialization. But at the start of the fight here as a Resto Druid, you're going to be focusing on heal over time effects. You want to be running the double Life Bloom build, keeping Life Bloom on the target that you're anticipating to get attacked, and then also keeping it on yourself. I like starting with Innervate, Overgrowth, and Nature's Vigil. This just gets you a really large effective heal onto the target. So you can see I'm expecting the Windwalker to be the primary target here, as they're going to be a bit squishier than a Death Knight, but I still have some hots on the Death Knight because I'm not sure 100%. They do decide to pick the Death Knight as the monk activates defensive, so I'm going to use a big Nature Swiftness onto the Death Knight. We're getting crowd controlled at the moment. We can see that they have Fortifying Brew active. They've still got some defensives. I'm going to try and jump away to safety by jumping to my ally with Wild Charge to escape the fear, and then try kiting further away from the Priest while still maintaining heal over time effects here. We're going to activate Iron Bark. It's a lot of damage against a Ret Paladin. It's really important that you actually, it's not so bad if you overlap cooldowns because they're only going to really be slapping a lot of damage right at this particular moment in the game with their first Avenging Wrath. We're going to use our Soul of the Forest here to get a big casted regrowth, and then try and get a Wild Growth for maximum effective healing onto multiple targets, as we are getting cleaved a little bit here. And we're going to switch the second Life Bloom to ourself. This way, through a talent, it's going to amplify the rate at which our hots are ticking. We're going to drop an Efflorescence on the ground, again, just trying to maximize our overall healing effectiveness, and then try and fish for Cyclones now that the enemy cooldowns are down and we don't have to worry about them. So we can get a Cyclone onto the Priest, stopping them from recovering the Ret. We can toss out Moonfires when we get this crowd control onto the healer. It's just really important to make sure that your DPS are safe before you cast Cyclones. And one of the main times to know that they're safe is enemy cooldowns have just gone down. There's no Metamorphosis Demon Hunter. There's no Avenging Wrath Ret Paladin. So this is the best time to cast Cyclones. I'm standing on my Efflorescence, so if I get swapped to, I'm going to get a little bit of extra heal over time effects. I'm just going to start hotting myself up because I see the Ret Paladin going after me a little bit. Trying to anticipate, are they going after me? Are they going after the monk? It can be a little bit tough. So I Cenarian Ward my monk because they have no defensives, whereas myself, I have Bark Skin right now. I can activate this if I need to, but I end up getting imprisoned. So we should be okay here. We can use Swiftmen to extend our Cenarian Ward, and we're going to spend our Soul of the Forest on the Death Knight because the enemies have been cleaving multiple targets, and we're going to use our new ability Invigorate here, which is going to speed up that Soul of the Forest rejuve on the Death Knight, and it's going to allow us to top the Death Knight without even casting a spell. So you can see how I've split my heal over time effects when they're cleaving. One target gets Invigorate, one target gets Cenarian Ward. I'm not allocating all my hots into one target when the enemy team has cleave. Now my teammates are safe. We're going to push forward for crowd control. We bash the Ret Paladin. We're going to cast a Cyclone on the Ret Paladin to stall out the damage in between their cooldowns, refresh our heal over time effects, and try and get away from the Priest who is chasing us down. Our Death Knight gets a good Death Grip here, preventing the Priest from landing a fear. We're going to get our Life Blooms back up onto the Death Knight and cast a Regrowth, just maximum heal over time effects, maximum benefit from our mastery. Now we've got a Soul of the Forest heal here that we're kind of sitting on. We're trying to anticipate who they're going after. I toss it on the monk because they have no defensives, probably still going to be squishier than a Death Knight. And here I've kind of all into the monk. I've got my Soul of the Forest on the monk, and I've got my Cenarian Ward. This is kind of a guess as to whether or not he was going to be the main target here, because I just think that Windwalker monks explode, so I felt safer allocating all the hots. We still have Iron Bark if they do make a swap. We've got Tranquility Bubble if they make a swap to me, so I would just want to protect the monk in this position. We've now Iron Barked. We've incapped the healer. Now we should be trying to get aggressive. Tossing a Moonfire out on this global wouldn't have been too bad to try and finish the Ret Paladin off, as opposed to healing here. Actually, probably could have killed the Ret Paladin if I tossed a Moonfire. You really want to be fishing for those. We end up getting the kill regardless, with a triple Blinding Sleep from the Death Knight. But you can see, trying to manage where you're going to allocate all of your heal over time effects, which hot are you going to extend, where are you going to put all of your resources. There's a lot of just strategy involved with this, and understanding how different specializations work into your class, which specs AoE, which specs focus on single target, what classes are you healing, are they stacked up? And it's because of all these layers of complexity in terms of picking your heal over time effect target that I really like it. I'm really enjoying Invigorate returning to the game. It's basically Warlords of Draenor Genesis on a cooldown, so it's not as broken as it was from that expansion, but well used with Soul of the Forest. Gets you just these sped up hots that feel really fantastic if you combo them with an adaptive swarm to increase their healing effect. I love having Nature's Vigil to add to extra damage to the scoreboard, and then building up for these big Moonfire hits. I really like that talent on the bottom left side of the tree for Druid, where all of your effective healing stacks up into your next Moonfire. And trying to find a good target for a Moonfire, trying to effectively hit it as much as I can when it gets maxed out. Super fun class right now. It's probably my favorite healer, actually, and that's pretty tough because of how much I was enjoying Preservation Evoker, but recently I've been playing Resto Druid, and I couldn't stop. Like, I think I played yesterday for like 12 hours or something on Resto Druid, and don't worry about me, I'm fine. I know solo queue for 12 hours, you're probably worried about my mental well-being, but I'm actually fine. Got a little bit angry. Here we're going to start with Ironbark Cenarian Ward on the Ret Paladin. I'm kind of anticipating a lot of damage with Abomination's Limb from the Death Knight and the Demon Hunter and Metamorphosis. We get gripped in, and usually when I get death gripped, I just like pressing Tranquility Shield because I know that there's going to be a ton of crowd control that hits me, and if it hits me and I trinket one thing into the next and then I end up losing the game. So this is just going to buy me time to be immune throughout the entire Abomination Limb. I can then charge towards the Priest after their cooldowns, land a bash on the Priest, try and go for a Cyclone. This is the dangers of going for CC when the enemies still have cooldowns up, though. We can see Monstrous Transformation here on the Death Knight pet, and we can see the Metamorphosis from the Demon Hunter. So going for that Cyclone was a risky time. It ended up getting a trinket and a lot of pressure. But look how far now we've fallen behind. Honestly, I should have used NS here. This is like global by global. If I had NS to Paladin here, they probably wouldn't have had to bubble. But with two targets getting cleaved, it's going to be really tough here to pick which target that I needed to allocate my biggest hots to. We're imprisoned here with two targets below half health, no Divine Shield, so we have to trinket. I really like trinketing when my partners have no defensive cooldowns left. I feel like that's just a good rule of thumb in solo queue to try and prevent overlap. Sometimes it can be risky to trust your teammates to press defensives, and we still actually ended up getting overwhelmed regardless. This could be chained back even to me going for a Cyclone as opposed to just keeping hots up. And this is kind of the dangers why I'm showing you all the rounds, not just the wins. The dangers of getting too aggressive with Resto Druid or picking the wrong moment to get aggressive. You want to really make sure that your teammates are going to survive before you make a push. So either you have a defensive active on them. I didn't have an Ironbark on the Ret Paladin. I'd used it previously. Or the offensive cooldowns are down from the enemies and you can then get aggressive towards the enemy healer. Or it's going to just put you so far behind. Like every single global cooldown is important. If that one global was in an S rather than a rejuve on the monk, probably would have held Divine Shield, had it there for that moment, survived a bit longer, and potentially gotten a kill later in the match specifically. So if you want something that's really challenging, strategically demanding, with tons of different routes and options to go throughout a game, like I feel like I'm almost never going to play a game the same way as I did the last, which is fantastic. That was my main problem with Resto Druid and Shadowlands, was it was just Cenarian Ward, extend the Cenarian Ward. All right, I'm chilling now. That guy's fine, and they're not going to switch targets because I'm playing with an Outlaw Rogue. So it really didn't have a lot of flavor to it. But now with all the different types of hots that you have, different versions and ways to extend them, and utilizing the Invigorate talent to speed up certain hots, I have a fantastic time finding different and unique paths to try and get through every game. So here I've got Life Bloom on myself. This is to amplify the hots on my allies. I've got my allies fully hotted, Adaptive Swarm. We're going to Cenarian Ward, Nature's Vigil here, Innervate Overgrowth, get a big row of hots in the Ret Paladin. Demon Hunters are really tanky, so I'm not really worried. I'm not worried about a Demon Hunter dying until they have no trinket, no blur. This is usually when I would throw more big hots on them, but Ret Paladins can disappear from the game, especially with a Windwalker on the other team. So I've got my big hots. I've pre-Ironbarked the grip, and here's where I could Trank Shield. This is what I mean when you get Death Gripped and you just get chain CC'd. It can be really scary, and now I'm down at half health, right? So if I just Tranquility immediately upon getting gripped, I'd be at full health right now, and healing my allies, and then we end up getting Ring of Peace on it anyways, and our Demon Hunter barely survives with Netherwalk at 1%. So this is the risk of fighting a Death Knight, and these are really prevalent spec, where when you get gripped, if you don't Trank Bubble right away, you can almost die. When you do get targeted down, I'd like dropping Ursul's Vortex. Mass Entangle also would have been perfect here to root the images, probably better. Just probably forgot to change my talents. I like tossing Adaptive Swarm on myself because it's going to amplify my Frenzied Regen also when I think I'm the target, and keeping my other hots on my allies, as opposed to like rejuving myself in this position, because I can just go Bear and press Frenzied Regen at any point here, and I'll go to full health. We get the Life Bloom refreshed on ourselves. This is going to speed up the hots on the Ret Paladin. This is getting us into a much more stable position. I see the Monk down downstairs. Enemy cooldowns are starting to run out with the Unholy Frenzy here, and the Monk images basically being over. We get gripped. We're going to reposition away. Fortunately, this is solo queue, so they didn't coordinate that with leg sweep because I had no trinket, no skin. I was pretty much dead right there if that Death Knight had gripped with it. We're going to use Stampeding Roar to just speed ourselves up, bash the Windwalker, move towards the Priest. You can see now I'm trying to get CC. It's a bit risky, and I end up pulling away because I'm still at half health and they're targeting me. I'm going to run into the Darkness. Darkness is also a great cooldown to drop against Abomination Limb. These big powerhouse cooldowns right in the opener. We end up getting triple leg sweeped, but we're in Darkness, so we should be able to survive. We can get Adaptive Swarm up. We want to get out of this barrier. When you're fighting a Disciplined Priest, you can really annoy them because no teammates almost ever stay in the barrier. I'm actually really surprised that they are staying in this barrier right now because for the most part, people will run out of it if you reposition. We get a Cenarian Ward Overgrowth on the Rep Paladin. They're going to be A-okay to survive and stay aggressive for some time now. So I'm going to push forward. I'm going to jump towards the Priest. We get a Hammer of Justice. I get in-capped on my jump in, but with full hots and Cenarian Ward on the Ret there while I was making my push and Invigorate, I think it should be all right. Here in this position, Rep Paladin should be running Sanctuary to sank me out of the fear, but you can see when you try and get aggressive, you get punished for it pretty heavily as a Resto Druid. We get in-capped into a full fear when we tried to make a jump and a maneuver. We've got Iron Bark to recover. We've got Invigorate coming up. Our Demon Hunter has Blur to utilize here on this disarm if necessary, but I'm still tossing out a couple of hots towards him because he doesn't have a trinket, so if he gets stunned, it could be lights out. And we just kind of just get a kill with random damage here halfway through the round. So Cycloning may not 100% be necessary, especially when enemies have instant crowd control, like a Paralyze or an Incapacitate that can stop you from making a push. I would recommend if you're new to Resto Druid that you don't even try really to Cyclone, or if you do, Cyclone DPS rather than the healer, because it's easily the most difficult part of the class. You can see even me not picking the best time to do it, and I've got a lot of experience on Resto Druid at the moment, so probably slow down, focus on keeping your hots, get the juggling going so that you can always make sure your allies are safe. Once you've gotten that down, like you're going to be really high rated even just with that alone, then you can navigate into the flashy and the styling plays to try and push higher and higher. But I just wanted to make today's video to talk about how much I am in love with Resto Druid and how much you are missing out by not playing it. So I hope that you did enjoy the video. Let me know in the comments down below if this has got you interested in checking out Resto Druid. I got my stream linked in the description below as well if you'd like to watch my games live as I pull out the remaining amount of my hair, and there's not much left, so it's very valuable to me. Other than that, thank you very much, and I will catch you in the next video.